what's up with cats? They're just so, they're, if a cat lays on your lap and falls asleep, you can't move. What is it that they do to sort of cast this spell on us that we become, their servants?
It's just the rule. It's an agreed kind of dogma or catma that you do when you sign up for a cat, and in return, their purring is the megahertz of what healing is. And so when you get to be the experiencer of their purring, and the way they need their aloofness, they need their alone time. But then they also have a really dear need to connect, but on their terms. And I think there's a lot for us to learn from that. But cats are just unique beings unto themselves, and they're also incredibly mystical and very, I guess I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? They're just well-versed in being able to connect with beings on the other side and their spirit, and bring energy that's incredibly mystical to the relationship. And they need a fair amount of alone time to be able to do that.
Okay, so then what about dogs? Let's give them a little bit of analysis.
Mm-hmm. Dogs are really here to experience and to transmit joy and unconditional love for us. I think all animals are earth angels, but there's something really magical about dogs and their willingness to show up for us and love us exactly where they're at and where we're at. They're not judgmental. They just completely and utterly transmit unconditional love. They don't care what you believe or why you believe it. They're going to love you. They're going to stick their little head on your lap and look into you and use their eyes to express this incredible soulful connection. And they're our biggest cheerleaders for whatever transitions or challenges that we're going through. They'll be there for us.
So is there a difference then in your method of communicating with a dog or a cat, or is it still basically the same thing? You're tuning into them as a creature as opposed to a specific type of creature?
Exactly. I have the same method, but every time I do it, and I've done it for a long time, it's a different experience. I always start every session with kind of this mantra going, I don't know. I don't know why the cat is not peeing in the litter box. I don't know why this dog keeps running away. I don't know. And insane, I know, there's a process in which my ego kind of goes out the window, and then I start summoning in my soul light, my spirit. And from that place, there's this connection with all animals, all life. And from that place, I start opening up to possibilities, and a lot of things kick in at that moment, whether it's my ability to be clairvoyant or feeling into an expression that the animal is feeling. I don't, like some animal communicators or some mediums, solely rely on just the animal. To me, I don't like doing it for demonstrating a skill set. I feel like it's this really interactive process around having the human have some understanding. I want them to use vets and say, okay, we tried this, and now the animal has this clean bill of health, and so how are they feeling? And I take that information because another person, the guardian of the animal, their heart connection is very alive with all the information that is connected to the animal. So when they're speaking, I feel that. And it's different than, say, the experience of reading a sitter. It's as that information is coming through, I'm simultaneously sending the question to the animal. Is there merit in this? Do you feel nervous about it? Because he or she is expressing anxiety about this. You know, whether it's going to be that the leg gets amputated or chemo gets started. Do you feel the same way? Your person seems really anxious about that. And when you can feel the difference in the opinion with that relationship with their physical body, say in that experience that I'm sharing, you know it's not coming from the person, it's the animal. And so I feel like it's this three-way dialogue around what we can do to best serve this animal in its best and highest good. Or is this really truly what the animal is feeling? I have a really beautiful story. I worked with an animal that was only 2.5 years old, a cat who was urinating everywhere pretty profusely. And when I tuned into why it was feeling the way it did, it brought me to this image of him in the shelter. And then the next image was something that I translated to be a brother, followed by this profuse feeling of sadness and grief and really missing the brother. And mind you, this cat was only 2.5 years old, so not an adult kitty. So in that experience, I then heard the word echo, and I saw in my mind's eye this ripple effect through still water. And the way I translated that was that innate core wound was being relived right now, right here, right now in this moment. So I brought that up to the person, and she started crying because she said that her brother, she had just found out, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer that was metastatic, and she didn't know how to say goodbye to him, and she didn't know how to live without him, which was the exact experience that kitty was feeling when it was separated from his brother at the shelter. And so he was reliving all those emotions again. It was creating panic for him. And that's why he was urinating outside of the litter box.
Wow. So what then did they do with that information?
They're using it to let him know that she's on it, even though this feeling is not resolved for her, that every time she tries to come into acceptance about this impending death, impending separation, the way she's viewing it as a separation, she would bring the kitty into her meditations, into her ability to affirm that it was safe to let go. And she would invite him to that practice. And I think over time, it will, no matter what, our animals don't expect us to be perfect, but where things are not resolved in us, they mirror it and they demonstrate that to us so we can actually take care of ourselves and pay attention and actually own something instead of, say, just trying to keep it together, just trying to soldier on through this thing because that's what you do. The kitty was feeling all the angst of things not being resolved, and where something that monumental can never be really truly resolved, you can own that feeling that you're having, and you can tell your animal, I've got this. I want you to know that today's a really hard day. I'm not feeling really good about this, but you don't need to hold this for me. I've got this. And when you own it, they just let go. And so again, it doesn't have to be resolved. They just need to know that you're on it. And because they can feel it. It's kind of like if you have a spouse and you know when they come home from work and they come in the door and they're angry, they don't have to say anything. You feel it. But when you can come in and say, I had a really bad day, it has nothing to do with you, I'm on this, then that person is off the hook, the other person in the relationship. So it keeps the energetics within these intimate relationships very clean and clear when we can own what we're feeling.
Fascinating. So then, again, not that everybody can do what you do, but how can we, deepen the connection with our animals? Do you have any tips or tricks or tools that you can share?
My quick and dirty way to do it is I imagine that my heart can actually breathe as if it's a nostril or a nose. And I breathe in and out through my heart center until I'm very, very quiet and very, very peaceful. And from that place, I go and I simply affirm that it's our most natural state of being to be able to connect with all of life, not just your animals, but all of life, your loved ones on the other side, the earth, trees, nature spirits, all of life. You're a child of this planet of Gaia, and you were born with the capacity to do that. So when you affirm that, that steps forward into the foreground of your ability to connect, and then you hold an intention to connect. I very much don't try to get an answer our culture very much wants to have an answer. Why is my animal doing this? That you want the answer. That's why they're hiring you. Really, they're having this full spectrum experience of feeling that they want to share. And sometimes you'll get something that's not the answer, but you'll get something that is important for you to know, feel, experience, so that you can have this deepened connection with your animal. And it becomes about sharing. And then from that place, once you've affirmed your intention, I free write journal. I just write. So, and I don't write until I don't stop until I feel like I've got something that is demonstrating to me that this is how my animal is feeling, or another animal that I'm working with. Over time, you won't need the tool of free associating writing. You'll just be able to call forth your spirit just in a moment of intention, and then breathe through your heart. And then you build this bridge of light between you and this other being. That bridge is always there, but you're activating it. And activation is a really important step in this. So when you're activating this universal connection that we have with all of life, and in particular, this particular personality. So then you take it from all of life and you begin to refine it to a golden retriever that's sitting in front of you. For me, I do almost all my readings through Zoom or through phone calls. So people send me a picture of an animal. And again, something is energy before it gives rise to form. And the energy that gave rise to form gives rise to a particular set of ways the eyes appear, or the way the ears, it begins. You can feel something by looking at an animal, whether it's timid or it's outgoing. And that's the energy that gave rise to a particular form. So you go through and you just keep practicing, and it helps to practice at the same time every day. Just like when you're doing an exercise practice, your body starts craving it if you miss the practice because you do it every day at 4 or at 8 in the morning or whatever you choose. But when you show up and act as if you don't know your animal, then you get to fall in love with them all over every single day, every time you practice this. It helps you to let go of the assumptions that you know something because you know them so well, but you're really trying to tap into their inner world. And when you're quiet and you use the practice of writing, it helps you to tap into their experience separate from what you're observing on the outside looking in.
Thanks for listening. Check out Castle Gate, a novel based on my own ancestral healing journey, at lisabonis.com. In 1921, 4 men set off from Scotland to the United States. Will Garrock, his brother Pete, his son Willie, and his nephew Thomas, all coal miners. They left behind the miners' rows and the nationwide mining strike with its soup kitchens. Their destination was Castlegate, Utah, where they had kin to welcome them before sending for their wives and children. They prospered in America, working in one of the finest mines in Utah. Until that tragic day, March 8th, 1924. Disaster struck. 3 explosions, trapping 171 men inside. Rescue crews worked tirelessly for days, but sadly, they could not save a soul. Women were widowed and children were orphaned, and some never recovered from their broken hearts. Castlegate is the true and tragic saga of a Scottish family whose dreams of finding their fortunes in the bountiful coal mines of Castlegate, Utah during the Prohibition era explode in one of the most devastating mine disasters in American history. Learn more at lisabonis.com.